Hi, Matt Wicks from SSW TV here. We're here at NDC Melbourne, and I'm here with Damian Brady. Damian, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, Damian Brady, ex-SSW, ex-Microsoft, ex-Octopus Deploy, but currently developer advocate at GitHub.
And we love GitHub.
Yes, who doesn't?
I don't know.
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
So with GitHub being like an awesome engineering platform to do like end-to-end DevOps, we use it a lot. We're using it on our rewards app at the moment. So we've got like a Xamarin, soon to be Maui app. We're pushing that out. We've got API, pushing out to Azure and stuff. It's a little bit too much to demo, but from an end-to-end DevOps point of view, have you got something that you want to show us?
Yeah, definitely. I'm good at the demo things. I think the main point that we want to put forward is that GitHub is not just a place to keep your code.
No,
it is actually like a full end-to-end DevOps solution now. And we've worked on that for the last couple of years. So a lot of these demos that I've been doing at events like this one and others is making sure that people understand you get that full end-to-end capability. So right here we've got our little .NET web application. It's an incredibly simple application. The actual code doesn't really matter. That's not the point. So we have our repo. Yep, that's fine. It's a simple ASP.NET Core app.
You should have a better README.
I should have a better README. Yeah, that's my fault. But any questions? There's some actions. But we also are using GitHub Issues to track the individual pieces of work. So you can see we've got a few issues here, and we've got some tags on them. We've even got like subtasks. There's a bit of a hierarchy that can go on with issues these days. And we have some pinned ones too.
Yeah.
So pinned issues of login functionalities. Now, what's in these, of course, is really rich text. At the moment, there's no description on this one, so we can add something. Change color set in docs. This is required because of
XXX.
Yeah, exactly. The other thing we can do with this, it's really handy for actually, pasting in rich information. So that's literally just a screenshot that I've done on my Mac, and it's a paste, Command V or Control V, and it's pasted in an image. We can do videos. We can do, even things like mermaid diagrams if we want, like flowcharts in our docs as well. So all of this stuff's available. The issues themselves are quite rich, but when you're doing the planning of your work, you want to combine a lot of those issues together, right? You want to see what your backlog looks like.
Yeah, so I've got a list of issues there. When I've got a backlog, I like to have them in priority order. So the top ones we work on first.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have projects, and this is part of the issues package, the whole planning and tracking that we're doing in GitHub at the moment. And it's really flexible, extremely flexible. So it's been built from the ground up. GitHub projects was a thing that was around for a very long time and is still around, the legacy projects.
Yep.
We are working towards migrating that functionality over to here, but at the moment, the new project is fully featured, really powerful software. You mentioned that you like to order your backlog by priority?
Yes.
So we don't even have a priority column at the moment, but we can add one, right? And have a single select to say this is high, medium, and low. And now this is like a typed extra field that we have, and we can even use like
it's turned into a combo box. Yeah.
Yeah, it's everything's high priority, of course. But
I can see there's something done in the backlog. If it's done, it shouldn't be in the backlog anymore.
Very good point. I mean, Control K or Command K, filter by status, and we'll just say exclude, done. All right, and so that filters as well.
Can I save that so the next time I look at it, it's...
Yeah, over on the right, save changes. Or if I wanted to, I could save them to a new view. I've saved it already, so we're not going to get that, but save it to a new view. So this is just a view of the information. With the priority, what you were saying, you might want to group them by priority. So here's all your high ones and all your medium ones. So you have a lot of control over what you actually want to see. So this is our save to a new view.
So like instead of grouping by priority, you may have a label on there saying, hey, we need this functionality for the next conference.
Yeah, exactly right. So we can also display this. This is in table view, but we can also do board view. And I've gone ahead and created a sprint board, which is scoped to our current sprint. So that'll keep going. when we get to the next sprint.
So you don't have to touch it. It'll just look at. So the sprints actually have dates on them.
Yeah, it's another type of custom field. So you have to add it as a custom field, but the sprints themselves, if you add an iteration type field, so let's add a new field just to show you and say iteration, it'll populate these iterations for you. So this is going to do every 2 weeks starting today, date of recording. And we can add those. You can edit them over here as well. So in your settings, you can go to your sprint custom field
and we can see all
the sprints.
That's cool.
Add extra ones, even change the name, and even if you want, you can change the date of the sprint, or add in a break, or a whole lot of other stuff that you want to do. So yeah, really flexible.
This is a lot more than just a repo online.
It is. It's a lot more than just a repo online. So we've got our backlog here. I can also, our sprint board here. I can also change the column, like if I want to do it by sprint, for example, see what's in sprint 1, sprint 2, sprint 3. So any custom field that's a drop down, one of those single select or an iteration, you can do that.
So that would be really good if you're planning, for the next couple of sprints upcoming, and then other people in the company can have a look at that board and see what's going to drop soon.
Totally, and it behaves as you'd expect. Like if we had our column field by sprint, and I've decided, this actually needs to be in sprint 2. By dragging it across there, it'll change. I've got this scope to current sprint, obviously, so that's just disappeared.
So it's actually filtered it out straight away.
It's filtered it out straight away, but you'll see in the backlog that is now in sprint 2. I think it was this one or that one. So it changes the values according to what it is. So yeah, really fully functional. There's a lot more stuff in there, but I wanted to show you, let's just undo those changes, discard those changes. So this .NET Web change background color is a piece of work that I've done. And if you drill into this, you get a pop-out, nice pop-out, and it's closed, which is okay for our sprint board. We can open it in a new tab, we can show all of the fields. We can see it's been linked to a pull request, so we get that deep link all the way back to the code that changed.
Awesome.
And a whole conversation, if we want it, about what's gone on in here. I've got a couple of tasks that needed to be completed, and you can see, if you drill into this in the new tab, you'll see that it is, 1 of 2 tasks have been completed, even though we've closed it. So yeah, fully featured here, you get all of that. But we can follow that through to the pull request and see the code.
Okay. What
I want to show you though is how we would have done that change, right? So one thing that a surprising number of people didn't know about, because I love this feature, is github.dev.
Yep.
You can just press dot when you're looking at the code, and it will open up essentially VS Code in the web for you. Now this is running entirely in the browser. So you don't get a terminal, you don't get the ability to debug or any of that stuff. But otherwise, it's a really fully featured piece of work. You can see your issues, pull requests.
If I want to poke around at a repository and look around, it's something that I use VS Code almost every day. So I'm familiar with it. And to poke around a repository, this is pretty cool.
Yeah, exactly. So this will give you most of that work. But if you actually want to do real development, you can do it on your local machine, that's fine, but you can also do it in a code space. So a code space is kind of like taking that web editor a little bit further, and we actually spin up a machine in the cloud with whatever specifications you need. You can customize the container that it runs in, a huge amount. So just as an example, github.com, the repo that we use to develop github.com, which we call GitHub. It's an 11 gig repo on disk, 23 if you count the Git history. But we use code spaces exclusively to develop github.com. Okay. Right? That code space will start from scratch in 10 seconds because we've taken advantage of things like pre-builds and so on. So
I can, sometimes when I fire up Visual Studio, it takes 10 seconds. But you've spun up the whole dev environment.
I had this one running already for this example, just to avoid it, but we've optimized the GitHub one.
Yeah.
Brand new developer can come into GitHub, create a new code space, and be ready to code and debug in the exact environment they need in 10 seconds. And they can do it in the browser, they can do it in VS Code locally, connected to that code space, but they're really productive straight away.
So let me just unpack a little bit. You're setting up a dev environment for them. There's obviously custom tools that you need to install and set up.
Yep.
Like my life as a consultant, that's the bane of my existence sometimes.
Yeah.
You join a new project, okay, well, we need to install this version of this, configure it this way, read the documentation, make sure that everything's lined up perfectly, but I could skip all that because we've got like an image or a script that does it all for me. And everyone's working on the same hardware, so...
Exactly right. So it works on dev container definitions, which will run Docker containers and things like that. So you can define your Docker container entirely, and any other resources that need to run. If you're just getting started, so this is the out-of-the-box one, which has things like Ruby and Python and .NET and a whole lot of stuff on there that you probably don't need. You can add a development container configuration file, and VS Code has a wizard basically that walks you through, this one's C#, or I want C# with MySQL in there as well, or MS SQL, sorry, or Postgres or something like that, and it will build that dev container for you, which you can then customize, get everything exactly the way you want, so all of your developers are working in the same image.
The other thing I'm noticing is that your laptop is very, very thin, and most probably a lot lighter than mine.
Yes, this is a 13-inch MacBook Pro.
So you don't need to carry around a super heavy machine because it needs a super big power brick.
Exactly.
Because you're just doing this on the cloud.
So for example, the GitHub has that repo to work on that. There's a minimum requirement of about 64 gig of RAM. The developers don't have 64 gig of RAM on their laptops.
RAM isn't cheap at the moment.
No, exactly right. But this is running in the cloud. All we're doing is connecting to it. So you can literally do your work from an iPad. There's not necessarily a reason you need a powerful laptop.
I know someone who just works off an iPad all day long.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean,
you may have worked for him as well.
Right. Oh yes, I do know who you're talking about. So this is how you might do the work. So that inner loop is part of the GitHub product as well. Like, how do you do your work really efficiently? Linking obviously to your GitHub issues. This is really handy for reviewing pull requests because you can actually see the whole process, like all of the files and the context.
So does it tie in with, so like when I use the GitHub CLI, I can check out a PR, which it knows which branch I actually mean when I want to check out, and then I can run that and see what's going on. I assume it's going to be a similar experience.
Yeah, exactly right. So I'll jump back to here, but you could say, so this code space, I can say, so this code space at the moment is in the context of my main branch, but if I wanted to say, get a new branch or have a look at a pull request, I don't have any in this repository at the moment, I could just check it out in the context of that pull request. We saw the web editor before. I can actually, like if I go to that repository, let's see if I do have any closed pull requests. There we go. So if I'm looking at a pull request, I can hit dot, and this will take me to the web editor. But it takes me to the web editor in the context of reviewing that pull request, which means I'm getting that branch. You can see down here,
so that's actually,
change background.
It's pulled up the pull request UI in VS Code.
Yeah. And so I can see the diff, like the only change here was that site CSS. I can see the diff. I can leave comments. It's been merged, so there's not a lot I can do here. But you can see, down here, I don't know if this will zoom in, but pull request and the pull request there, and this is the branch I'm looking at. It's all really focused around making you really efficient in that inner loop.
Yeah.
And then of course the last part, when you've done that work, is the whole CI/CD pipeline, which would be GitHub Actions. Now again, I don't want to show you setting those up because that's a whole several hours of talking, but here's an example from this exact situation. So you can see from issue 23, we've got a build, we've done our staging deployment, so that's gone out to staging.
What's the link for?
So the link is for the environment. You can set the environment URL so that maybe you spin up some infrastructure as you deploy. The link allows people who are looking at that pipeline to just click on the link and open up the URL of the, in this case, staging environment. And then it waited before deploying to production because I have some environment protection on there for me to approve it to go to production. And you can see, here's our deployment review. If I can scroll down. I approved that yesterday to prod with a comment of great work as always. Seeing as I'm the only person on the project, that's probably not very appropriate. But you can even see the artifacts that we built, right? So we can download that and find out what was in it. before doing the deployment. So yeah, that whole pipeline of CI when we committed and merged to our main branch, all the way through to production, which looks the same in this case because we've approved it. Now, the environments we're deploying to, it's really important to know as well, you can protect those environments. So we've got two here. We've got staging and we've got production. Our production environment is protected in two ways. One is that I have to approve it, and the other is that we can only deploy from protected branches. So my main branch is set up so that you can't commit directly to main. You've got to go through a pull request process, which means that we can't deploy to production from a feature branch, for example. It's got to be back on our main branch. So yeah, all of this protection means that we have a nice kind of CD pipeline. We can deploy to multiple environments and do it in a safe way.
So we've got, like, if we take a step back, we've had an issue where, somebody's said, oh, we need to change I think it was the background color. Yep. So we've got the issue. Can we create a branch from that issue?
You can, yeah. So if we have a look at, here's another issue, you can scroll down, create a branch for this issue.
Cool.
Or in VS Code, like the web editor or code spaces, you can say, I want to start work on this. And by default,
like I'm just thinking, like, hey, we've got an issue, we've branched, we've fired up code spaces, we've worked on it. Obviously, you can, spin it up in code spaces and debug and do all the stuff that we're used to. So we've worked on it, we've created a pull request, it's come back in, built some stuff, pushed it out, got approvals, it's in production. It's literally end to end.
End to end. And the idea is to make it as efficient as possible, right? So everything connected all the way through for that traceability, but also to keep developers writing code, which is what they want to do, right? They don't want to have to keep jumping out to other tools to do your work. You can do it all in that one code space. And it's really efficient, yeah.
Definitely. And with tools we're familiar with as well. It's VS Code.
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah.
Exactly right. All the extensions, everything's there, whatever you need. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, this has been great chatting about this. I'd love to talk more, but I think we'll call it a day for now.
Yeah, definitely.
It's getting dark outside.
Gone through a lot. Yep. Yeah, cool.
So this is Matt Wicks from SSW and Damian Brady. We're signing off. Thanks for watching.